lesson planning documents so that we're all on the same page with our lesson planning. Same thing with our common assessments, making sure that we have our common assessments.
Okay. Yes. Thanks so much for the summary. My question is, based on your observations, how long do you think it's going to take before you will see tangible results?
I think we'll see some tangible results at the end of this year because Hard River already had pieces in place that were working. So they went from -8 growth to -2.7. So they have pieces that have already worked. One of those pieces is we did a very specific vocabulary curriculum for the word we was, and so we kept that. If it's working, we're going to keep using it. We have 2 recesses at 3rd grade, which is where we see the highest growth. So it was successful in 3rd grade. We're part of the CATCH program. We now put it at every grade, and we're hoping that we're going to see results very soon from that. But we know we'll see something by the end of the year.
Other questions? Just a general item. We know that the higher the test scores, the more difficult it is to increase proficiency levels and growth levels. I think Tar River is the highest performing school in the system. Elementary. Just 2 minutes, talk about how that works. I mean, your challenges of what you have to do with that issue as opposed to just the general proficiency.
Right. Well, and that, yeah, how do we grow our kids and our proficiency is high, I think what it boils down to. And
That's
you know,
simple and right.
Yes, and we have seen in our data that our subgroups that are not high performing are growing. They are meeting growth. It is our high performers that are not meeting growth.
Right.
So how are we going to push them? We're going to push them by thinking outside the box. We're going to start doing off-grade level work. We're going to start doing project-based learning and really upping the rigor in our building to make sure that they are truly reaching their highest potentials.
Okay, good. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
I want to start off by saying, Wilton. I want everybody to understand what is Wilton. Wilton is an environment, a school that continues to strive for progress for their students. How do we do that? We look at data. We are constantly looking at our data as the students are being assessed by the teachers. We do this every Thursday. We have PLCs where the groups of teachers, they get together, they look at the data to see how well the students are doing on particular standards. If you have some students that are not meeting those standards, the teachers get together and they figure out, okay, why did this group of students what was it that caused those students not to achieve that particular standard? And these are conversations that occur in Wilton every week. They have a common planning time, which allows for them to plan together prior to the Thursdays in which we have our PLC meeting. This year, we noticed that when we were looking at our data, when I say we, I'm talking about the school improvement plan. When we looked at our data, we did note that we have made growth. It seems like we're making growth, but it's very, very minimal. It's like 2 points. So we kind of honed in on what is it that we're not doing. So we took a look back and we looked at our subgroups. Our subgroups are demonstrating growth, but they're not demonstrating proficiency, which is good, but it's not good. So we've got to figure out as a team, what are we going to do to help our subgroups reach their proficient areas as indicated by the testing scores. So what we're doing this year, we're working closely with our EC teacher. Our EC students have goals, okay, IEP goals. They have those goals, and we have to really look at those goals to see if those goals are going to help those students reach the proficiency areas as needed, according to the testing at the end of the year. we're looking at our subgroups, another subgroup is our Hispanic students. Yes, they are, they're growing, but they're not reaching proficiency. So what are we going to do to help those teachers, those students? We're trying to, collaborate with our, ESL teacher, which is Janice Torgerson, to give us some feedback, give us some strategies to use to help those students, because we know they're struggling. So we want to try to come up with a workshop that she can come in to help those teachers to be able to deliver the instructions to those Hispanic students to help them achieve their goals. And the same instances with our African American students. We're trying to help them reach their goals as well, because they are lagging behind as well compared to the other subgroups. So this is what Wilton is currently doing. And once again, we're doing great, but we can do better. There's always room for improvement. And that's what we're striving for this year as we look down and look at our subgroups that we have.
Okay. Mr. Mims?
Yes. Do I have a question?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to ask you, thank you so much, a question I really should have asked everyone. What electives do you have at Wilton? And then I would like for you to discuss your demographics.
Okay. The electives that we currently have at Wilton, we have Mac Lab, we have Media, we have PE, and we have Spectacular. Spectacular is one of those electives where the students, when they go to this particular teacher, she kind of embraces and teaches them a little bit about arts and crafts, things of that nature. That's what we kind of focus on when they go there. So those are all the electives I have right now. My media teacher and my math lab teacher is a teacher assistant. She runs both of those electives for me. So it's a difficult yes, but I'm managing.
Okay. And then the number of new teachers, then the demographics.
Okay. The number of new teachers, I have two new teachers. One teacher is in first grade. She's new because of the fact that the teacher prior to her, she relocated to Greensboro. I have a new PE teacher because the PE teacher that I had previously to him, he retired. I have one BT3 teacher, which is a beginning teacher, third year. This is her third year as a beginning teacher. And then my other teachers are BT1s. This is their first year teaching.
Now, you mentioned a little bit about demographics as you were giving your presentation. Exactly, what are those numbers?
Let's see, my African American students is 20%. My white students are 62%. Hispanic is 13%. Multiracial is 4%. And I have 1% American Indian or Alaskan.
Questions, board members? Thank you, Ms. Mims. You did not mention your leadership initiative, and it is such an important part of your school. And if you would explain that just a bit, but the other part is, how do you see the leadership component impacting student achievement? First tell the board members what the leadership is.
Okay, the leadership program that is established at Wilton Elementary is a program based from Stephen Covey's, the highly effective people. So we've kind of taken that frame and incorporated it into our school, okay, for the 7 habits of the healthy kids. What we've kind of done with the program is kind of meshed everything together so the teachers wouldn't have to work as hard. With that program, we have coaches that come in and they kind of coach us. They guide us during the whole school year to kind of see, what areas we may need help with, what areas are we strong in, things of that nature. The curriculum base of it is that we have a website that we use. It's called the Leader in the website. That provides the school with a lot of resources for teachers to use and to embed in the classrooms for instruction. We also, we achieved Lighthouse status this year from the program, which was It was a big deal, but it was a lot of work, but we had a team of 2 people from the Stephen Covey's Foundation to come in, and they assessed the program. They provided us with information as far as like where we are in reference to a scale. So, some areas we were accomplished, some of them we were developing. But the whole framework that we have started at Wilton and what we're using has allowed us to achieve the Lighthouse status through them. And with that process, we will, every 2 years, we would have to go up for recertification. So they will come back to us and they will continue to assess the program. With the Leader in Me program, I can truly say that it has allowed our teachers and our students to kind of step back and reflect on what you want to be and what your leadership styles want to be. They have 7 habits. We use that type of verbiage throughout the building constantly. We use this language and the students there at Wilton have embraced it tremendously. When you have students that get in trouble, you provide them like a little worksheet and they have to which habit didn't you follow? And particularly when you were sent to Miss Jones's classroom or whatever. And they have to put I didn't begin with the end in mind. But what was it that you didn't do? I didn't do my work like I was supposed to. And that they will actually put this on a form and the form goes home with them. And the parents are made aware of this because they have to sign off. So it's things like that we have done. Our students, they have leadership roles. We have a student lighthouse team, and the student lighthouse team has allowed our students to have a voice. So they have a voice, and they kind of help the grown-up lighthouse team, as we say, kind of with things that we would like to do and incorporate within the school. So we also do leadership notebooks. Students manage their own. They are held accountable for their learning. So when they have their little notebooks, they have to actually sit down during parent-teacher conferences, and they have to go over their leadership notebooks with their parents for their goals. Did I achieve this goal? I didn't. What do I need to do to achieve this goal? This is all the verbiage that occurs during parent-teacher conferences.
Excellent. Anybody else? I can tell you, you're also a school of choice, aren't you?
Yes, we
School of leadership, right? I can tell you that your school is well thought of by many people around here. You have a number of students from this area that are going down to your school, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Excuse me, I guess we about to go to the
Well,
middle school.
you go ahead. What do you got?
Can we just have each principal stand up and talk? Just mention what their electives are, because
Sure.
that's something that we did.
Sure.
So all they have to do is just stand up, we do art, PE, or whatever.
Well, wait a minute, we want you to stand up for a minute and tell us what your electives are.
Sure, I'll be happy to. At Holly, we have band, chorus, PE, and then we have 3 CTE classes. One's computers, one's more agriculture, and then one is more the family consumer sciences.
Thanks, Dr. Aaron. But I was really thinking, since we got the elementary,
I know.
that's the. I mean, Dr. Aaron,
Maybe next.
Next year, all right, next time, that's fine.
It's called continuous improvement.
Good afternoon, evening, everyone. As most of you know, I am not what you would call new in this district. I haven't been around about 15 years. But I have played the new card a little bit as my first time at Holly. Got there around the 1st of August, and we've hit the ground running. And looking at some different things, I will tell you, walking in the door, this was probably my most challenging year in my entire career as a principal in hiring teachers. My compadres back here would say the same thing. Walked in the door, had to hire 7 teachers, 3 coaches, an athletic director, a dean of students, a custodian, and an ISS coordinator as well. And I'm happy to report that we finally filled all those positions last week. And I say that with a grain of salt because I have a teacher who's going to retire in the year or so. Again, but that's okay. We can make that work. In looking at Holly and being new, and as well as Mr. Brooks being new, we decided that we would have a new administration meet and greet with the community and the parents and all. It was very well attended. We had probably in the neighborhood of 200 parents and kids and all show up. And from that, we did a tabletop activity where we asked the parents to tell us what was going well, what was not going well, and what was something that was missing or that you thought would need improvement. We did that same activity with the staff when we met them the first time. And this is literally where our components of our plan that we're highlighting this year came from. Because when we looked at the data, what our parents and what our teachers had said aligned to these very things that we saw as our action steps. When you look at our data and our subgroups, every single subgroup at Holly last year met or exceeded growth, which is to be commended by that staff. Has received high growth for the last 3 years. So a lot like Ms. Cruz, when it comes to the academic components and raising achievement, we're taking a lot of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality with that. So we are still focusing in on our weekly PLCs at the grade level, as well as monthly PLCs vertically, common assessments, looking at our data and benchmarks. We've created a new walkthrough tool this year that really focuses in on the district's initiatives around rigor and engagement. So we're doing those types of pieces. We also heard from the staff that PBIS was a component that they thought was lacking and needed some improvement. So that's been a focus this year. If you're free tomorrow, we're having our monthly PBIS celebration. We have games and activities. We've got a snow cone truck coming in. It's going to be a good time. So you're more than welcome to come by and see that. To qualify for that, you must have exactly 0 discipline incidents for the month. The process resets at the beginning of the next month, so everybody is eligible again on November 1st, and we work from there. And along with that, we're doing our STEAM bucks for recognizing good behavior, those components, and we give kids rewards for that. So we're seeing an improvement there, and we also hope that's going to lead to reduced discipline referrals and things of that nature, and what we're doing with meeting with parents and using our counselors and our support services there. All right, out of time? Wow. I thought I was
Any
getting
final
great.
words? Any final thoughts?
Sorry about that.
10 seconds. Parents and we talked about wanting more communication, and that's where you see that effort there, where we're using Remind and we're using our social media posts and things of that nature. We're going to pilot sending out little videos so that showing parents what's going on in the classroom and how they can support us.
Great, thank you. Mr. Mendes? Demographics.
I had it.
Well,
We are
I'm sorry, I didn't do that with us.
56% Caucasian, 25% African American, 14% Hispanic.
Okay, great. Any questions?
I have a comment, Mr. Ham, I'd like to share with you. I really like to hear, when you first began, you talked about shortness of staff and people to work with, and yet you spoke about excelling. To me, that's a plus all by itself. I commend you for that.
Well, that's a tribute to the staff that's been there and their dedication.
Please pass that on to the staff, and we appreciate that hard work and that effort of taking less and doing so much more.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ham, last year the district really pushed marketing.
Yes.
And you've got a wonderful charter school in the back door of your
We
school. What are you doing to make sure you're marketing well to the community there?
Well, like I said, our social media presence is very strong with our parents, especially Facebook, because that's where you capture those parents. We're just doing more to tell our own story. We're going to start putting more things in the paper, again, with these videos of what's going on in the classroom and how to support. With that first meet and greet, with that information we got, we're going to have more meet and greets during the year, so we can kind of go, this is how we've answered the things that you brought up, and what are you still seeing, what else can we improve on? So we think if we just keep that dialogue going with the parents and all, and getting them more involved, that's why we're setting this year's goal at 80% on this survey that we're going to do at the end of the year, that they're knowledgeable, they know what's going on at home. And I think if we can just tell our own story, that's going to be the biggest thing.
Can you share with the board your enrollment?
570 students right now. And we have a new student coming tomorrow.
You said something, you said that in all grades and all subjects, the school had met or exceeded growth.
All the subgroups, yes.
All the subgroups?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
And so, could this can you explain why the school dropped from a B to a C?
I think I can explain that. And it's going to sound like an excuse, but it's not an excuse. Last year was the first year our 8th graders who were taking Math 1 did not also take the 8th grade Math EOG. So there were about 55 students who would have normally taken the 8th grade Math EOG and made a 3, 4, or 5 on it, who are now not in that number that we test.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Good evening.
You can hear yourself or see.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm happy to be here. I am the newbie on the block, and so everyone here has experience, so this is my first year.
In other words, this is his first time at the table like this.
So, so Northern Grambling. First, I'll be remiss if I didn't say that we had double-digit growth in math and reading for both 6th and 7th grade last year, and so we had high growth. So that but I can't take credit for that. Ashley Clark, the previous principal, deserves a round of applause for her team because they did an excellent job preparing the students. And so, and gives me some pretty tough shoes to fill in terms of trying to meet that or top that. But we're here. I'm here now to say that at Northern Grambling we've adopted a motto of every student, every day, where we look at the whole child. And when I'm looking at data, yes, we had high growth last year. The previous year we were down. The year before that, they were up. So we had to analyze and look at, the team had to look at what's happening. Why is that happening? And what we see is school culture. The culture has to shift. And yesterday, coincidentally, I had a meeting with the staff and we talked about positive school culture and how our behavior affects our student stories. And we have to be very intentional about how we build relationships with our students. And so we have to be impactful. We have to have intimate contact with them. We have to let them know that we care about them and that we're trying to reach them. And so I shared some things with them and I wanted them to reflect on what are we doing? What are our best practices? Now I can sit here and I can tell you 1,000 times over, I walked into the building June 18th, I had to replace an entire 8th grade team. I had about 8 vacancies to start off the year. Anytime you have a new principal in place, that's what happens. You have high turnover. And so currently right now, I have 3 vacancies. And so it's tough because of the culture. And the culture is so embedded and ingrained in Northern Grambling that it's hard to break. But guess what? I'm the man for the job. And so we're gonna get it done. And so I've hired some excellent people. We have an entire new 8th grade team, but I have 2 teachers that have 13 years of experience. And we're making strides. And so when we look at our goals, I think one of the main goals, we had our academic goals, of course, because we want to improve in math and reading. But when you look at our discipline data, we had 514 referrals last year. That's incredible. And so, you know, but it's a lot of reasons for that. But this year we came in and we've cut that down. This year, the first quarter is ending, we're at 80 referrals. And if we stay on pace, we're gonna cut that number in half. And so that's what we're trying to aim, that's our aim. But we're focused on every student, every day, and making them feel wanted. And more importantly, with you all, with people, anyone coming into the building, what do they feel when they walk in the door of Brown? Do they feel welcome? Do they feel wanted? Do they feel like they want to be there? Our students need to feel that every day, and I've been hammering that with my teachers, so we're going to get better, I promise you that.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Would you share your demographics?
61% African American, which has gone up over the past couple of years, with 19% white and 15% Latino.
And how about your electives?
Electives, we offer health and PE, music and band. We have robotics, agricultural science, and media science.
Personally, I would like to encourage your enthusiasm of saying that you're the man for the job. I kind of like that. Sometimes you just have to know who you are. Because I believe if you feel that way, then rub off on those who work with you. And that may be a positive attribute of why y'all doing so well with all the turbulence you've had coming in. So again, I applaud you and your whole team. And lift up my hat to you and say, stay the course.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Good. Other questions?
Principal Hackett, you can breathe. Good job.
Oh, no, man.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Grammar Old College. I think the first thing I need to do is try to explain to you that this is a constant balancing act. Because teenagers are gonna be teenagers, I don't care where they are, who are here. And so you're trying to get them to understand the importance of being a high school student and how valuable it is, and to get them to become mature. And you also have to balance the fact that you are in college classes with high school adults and setting those standards for going to those classes and acting like mature young adults. So it's a constant balance and act, and that's kind of tough sometimes. This year for staffing, we have 2 new high school teachers that are veterans in the county, and I'm very confident that they can move into our arena and help to continue to move us forward very successfully. It's a high stress level for them because they're coming into an environment with high expectations. They know what the grade is. They are learning that the students have expectations for them that are quite high. And so they're questioning themselves, can I do this? I don't want to see you go down. I want to keep you guys moving forward, and I'm confident they can. I'm trying to make them understand this is a process, and we're going to help you do that. I have one new baby, and I call her my baby, fresh out of college, and you know, she doesn't know she's in a dream place until she's never been anywhere. You know, she's in a non-reality world right now, but she's doing a great job. Her content, she knows that she's awesome. She's very open, and you know, when you give her something, she's ready to jump on it, and there's improvement to be made. She works, she did that, and constantly asks questions. That's a good thing. And I have one that transferred last year from middle school who's there. So 57% of our staff right now is new. So that, I'll talk a little bit later about what that means for us. But we got this. We got it. As far as my demographics, 55% of the population is white, 40% black, and 5% Hispanic. Our Hispanic girls are thriving. They are knocking dust. Hispanic males, on the other hand, are struggling, not just academic, because of the culture. You know, you're trying to make yourself better, and they fight that with their families and their relatives. And what we're finding a lot of times they go back to traditional school because they can't handle it back. Our African-American males are few and far between. Part of that is because they want the camaraderie of the high school environment. The other part of that is that, you know, they have a fear of really having to dig in and work. And trying to get them past that, or having those conversations, or having a conversation with the parents who don't seem to understand it, is a very difficult conversation, and they're not understanding the benefits in the long run. Because everybody's gonna be a Michael Jordan. The African-American females are holding their own. They are becoming more and more competitive. My kids are very, very competitive, and I think they get that from, they might get that from the principal. But across the board, math, our males are very low, just across the board. And math is our strong point, our weak point, as you can see. And that's a lot of reasons. A lot of that is about past histories. As you know, in this county, we've had teachers that wasn't present, or short-term, long-term, missing math teachers. And so we're focusing on catching them up and moving them forward. They are growing, but they are still not where they want to be. And the long-term effects of that is when they get to the college side, they're struggling even more with math. So, time's up already. Good gracious, Dr. Martin.
All right, are there any questions? Any questions? What are your elections?
Do you have any electives?
Our electives, we are online electives or college electives. We don't have that opportunity for them within the high school sites.
Okay. Anybody else?
Jackie, I think the board would be interested in knowing all that PE and health is an elective. Do you want to explain how your children get it?
If you can figure it out, you know. Right now, what they are having to do is they are taking a PE course, which is not a traditional PE course, it's just a book course, and they walk around the campus, and they do not get college, they do not get high school credit for that, right? No college credit. And then they take a different kind of PE course that they get partial credit. So we're trying to figure, the state's gonna say, go back to doing PE the whole way eventually, we hope. That's what we're hoping for. So it's been just a battle, and we're just kind of playing it out to see how it works out in the long run, but it has created some problems.
I only mention that because as you'll see, the issues are different. This is our A school, but it's not without issues. The issues are just different at this level. I don't know. She did give demographics.
Oh, you want
55% white, 40% black, and
5% Hispanic.
5%.
Jackie, how students choose to go to your school, is that correct?
Correct.
So if you've got students who are really struggling, they just didn't know what they were getting into?
No, we encourage those who are struggling, because that's what you want. Because those struggling kids, 9 times out of 10, their parents who do not go to college, and, you know, they typically don't encourage that. So